kindly brought along today a lot of your photographs of beer.
Yeah.
Can we go through them and you can tell us a bit of history about each one?
If I can.
Starting with that one.
Yes, that was taken in 1950, Beer Regatta. My father, that boat was built in Beer by H.J. Mears. That was the last boat my father had built in 1950 at Beer Regatta. That's that one. That was me in the front, and the baker, there was a crew member at the back, father's friend. We did actually win the Crabbers race in that race that year. And we had the big cup, which is the Percy Wessex Cup, the fastest one around the course. That was 1950.
Next one we're looking at, Alan, is also with you in it, I think, isn't it?
That's the same. That is the same boat, but it's more when she was sailing. And that's how she was rigged. She was rigged at Bermuda rig, not a Luxor rig that particular year.
And you're on board, are you?
I'm on board there with a white cap on. Father, Ciscus, Oric Barton and his wife. She was a crew member those days. That was up back in 1950, Beer Regatta.
Next photo, Alan, is of a beached whale on Beer Beach.
Yes, that was an Iroka whale in 1876 in February. And the rhyme that I was told, in 1876, the mystery of beer was in a fix. She had to tow the whale ashore. And it put on the beach, and the fishermen charged so much for people to look at it, or to earn money from it. The jawbone is in Exeter Museum still. So.
And was it cut up into blubber and used?
It rotted.
It rotted. Yeah. So what's the scaffolding poles around it, Alan?
That is to cover it over to stop the sun melting.
Oh, right.
Keep it in the shade. And all those other things, there were sails used to cover it over with, keep the sun off.
Yeah. Have you any idea how long the whale was?
I can't remember, 60 odd feet if I remember, or something like that. I'm not quite sure now.
Yeah. Right, another photograph we have is of...
Oh, this is back in the old sailing days, before my time, and I can only tell you about it and what people told me. And this is Beer Beach when the trawlers were coming ashore. There's one broadside on the water's edge. That's how they used to come ashore, and they were pulled off stern first, so they could bow first, launch the next day when they went to sea.
Right. Can you date that photo for us, Alan, roughly?
I don't know when it was. It prior to 1916. Indians never come to beer till 1916, so it was long before then. And if you look at the registration number on the E, it's after the number.
Yes.
But it's after 1868, because we had the number registration then was LE, which was lime. The lime was the most important in Exeter those days. E stand for Exeter.
Yeah. Now this is a very interesting one. We have working fishermen here.
Oh, that's the herring season in 1910. And that's they brought the herring ashore, the herring nets. I pulled the herring nets in. Then they jumped out and they come ashore, pulled the boats out. Then they shook the herring out. Then you pick them up and you always count them out as a long 100. So you counted out 4 at a time, 2 in each hand to count the herring. They were always counted, never weighed.
I see.
And there's a couple of men that I knew, and they were elderly men when I was a boy. Rupert Appling and John Bowles there. Bertie Driver Williams was there. Just a long. They were taken by a German photographer in 1910.
Another picture of Beer Beach, this time with horses being used to
Yes.
pull the boats.
That is, horses was down there because there was a stone down the other side of Beer, down the right down the western country, called Combe Stone, which was like an anthracite. They used to dig it out, bring it back to Beer Beach, and I used to bring the wagons down and load the Combe Stone into the wagons to take up the coal yard. And that was cheap coal then. Combe Stone, but a lot of us burnt around here those days. This is before my time. I've heard the old men tell about it. I got a lot of knowledge from the old fellows.
Who did the horses belong to?
I don't know, but it should have been the only coal yard I've been told about was Dickie Skinner's. It could be his, or could have been a farmer renting the horses for the Dickie Skinner to go in and pick them up.
An interesting one here, Alan, regarding sails. Can you explain?
Yeah. Well, they're what they call barking the sails, putting preservative on. And it was a mixture of all sorts of things. There was yellow oakum put in, red oakum, and brown oakum, whatever colour you wanted. And then there was 7 pounds of pure Russian white tallow. Then there was dogfish oil put in with it. And then you had all sorts of a mixture. And they used to put in salt, never put fresh water, always put salt water. Because salt water preserves, fresh water kills. And that was what they used to boil it all up together and store it and then put it on the mops.
And what was the purpose of this process?
Preserve the canvas. It was all cotton canvas those days.
And how frequently would this be done?
They were large sails, they were the working sails they had to go to work with. I only ever helped one, and that was just before the last war in the late 30s, when my father had the Lugger sail built, and he had to have a new piece of canvas put in to repair it, and it was only used for 8 days, and they barked it, and I helped to put the stuff on the bark it.
Did it smell?
Well, you never took the notice of things, smells. There were so many smells on Beer Beach those days.
So I take it was an unpleasant smell, was it?
Well, it was in a sense, because you had all sorts of mixed together. And you smell tallow getting hot, it don't smell all that well. Fish oil and things like that was all put in. And the bark was, we used to use oak. Oh, I can't think of the name of it at the moment. It was come from India, and it used to come in boxes, hard. You used to break it up, melt it down. Acacia tree from India. It was the stuff from there, made from there.
How long did this process take?
Take all morning.
Morning.
It'd take you 2 or 3 hours to boil it all up. It'd take you 2 or 3 hours to do it. They formed one side, then it was all turned over and done the other side as well.
And how long would it take to dry?
A couple of days. And then every time, when it was drying, as the wind shook it, you think clouds of brown dust come up. So you never wore white clothes with it.
Can you date that photo for us, Alan, roughly?
No, it's a long time ago, because look at all the trawlers you've got there. And there's no houses above the fishermen's cottages. And they're all what they call pulley hauley with cotton blocks and tackle. Men sending down to pull the boats up backwards.
Yeah.
So it was all pulley hauley those days. That's what made them old men when they were young.
Interesting that several of the men are wearing bowler hats.
The number of boats is on the beach that particular time.
Yes. Why were they wearing bowler hats, son? Was that a tradition, or?
It was always a hard hat.
I see.
I was always told that there was a ship came ashore wrecking, and he was full of what they called hard hats, and that's how they all come to them. So where the ship was, I never found out where the ship was wrecked to, but Now, I've learned a lot from the old men. They told me tales about things.
Alan, we've got a very early photograph here of a boat used for fishing herring. Can you tell us about the boat and the herring fishing season?
That's the herring season because these nets is on the bottom and the working boys is in there. They're re-rigging the rigging, the Lugger things up the masthead. They're getting the rigging right to go sailing with. That's during the herring season again.
And when did that start?
Usually started summer after August, September time. They come in. Sometimes they didn't come in until end of September again. Then they work through sometimes during the winter, and then they finish again just after Christmas. And that's why the beer fishermen had a decent Christmas, because everything came in. But they disappeared in 1937. They never come back again.
Right.
So what happened to them? No one seems to know.
Do you know whose boat that is, by chance?
No, I don't. But the name's on the back of it, but I can't read it.
Can you tell us how they did the fishing for herring? What method did they use?
Well, they used to, my father and I told me, they used to go down to Budley Salterton, and they used to put so many nets out, and they're all different depths, and they're all measured by the score, so many score deep. That was to catch any lower ones and the somehow high. And they used to drift with the wind and the tide all night. And then when they thought the buoys was right, they'd pull in, and then they come ashore in the dawning. Then they had the nets in the boats, and they take them out, and then they shake them all out on the beach, and you pick them up, 2 in each hand. You count to a long 100 and put them in a barrel.
Now, a similar photo, I believe.
Now, that there is E143 was Dick Westlake's. Now, if you look on the back of that boat, there's a hurricane lamp hung up. That denotes he's drifting with herring. That was the only light they had.
And the purpose was to
Shut the nets out, and with the wind and the tide, and then they drift all night in the tide, whichever the tide was running or the wind was running. Then when they'd think they had enough, they caught their herring, they'd pull the nets in.
I see.
Come ashore, then offload them on the beach.
And when was this photo taken, roughly?
It was all about the same time, about 1910, somewhere right like that. There's a collection of them. And 143 belonged to Richard Westlake. He was an old man when I was a youngster.
Is he in the photo by chance?
Well, I should say he's a man that's there smoking a pipe. And I reckon that's his son Arthur along with him. I can't be certain, but I should think that's what it is, knowing that's his boat. That's the nets he's tending to on the beach.